countdown. 1, 2, 3.
I think we're live.
I think we're live. Awesome. Yeah. For round 2.
How are you?
Yeah, very good. It's been well, what is it? When did we last do one of these? We last did one of these back in March, and yeah, to say BuildSync has gone through some changes in terms of the company is an understatement. So it's been an incredible 6 months for us. So some fun stuff to talk about today.
I'm excited. I want to give everybody kind of a minute because LinkedIn takes a minute to push out the notification and give everybody a minute to kind of show up here. So if you are here in the comments, go ahead and comment. Let us know you're here. I'm trying to make sure we're live on my phone. But yeah, let us know we're here. Let us know where you're calling in from.
Yeah, I always like that. I always like seeing seeing everyone dialing in across the US. So, and I always like in some of these webinars I've done, people try to guess where I'm from. So, although I've been in the States for been in the States now for 8 years, but I still get one of two places, and one of them is correct. So,
one of two places. Oh, where you're originally from?
Where I'm originally from. Yeah, where I'm originally from. Yeah, I know I'm an adopted Arizonan, but I came from somewhere originally. So.
How many people think you're an Aussie?
50%. 50%. I probably say mate too much. And look, if there's any Aussies watching, I always say this. My nephew is Australian. My sister's lived there for the last 10 years. Australia is kind of British Texas.
It is.
So it's kind of British Texas.
When I was in college, I went over and visited Australia. And I'm from West Texas originally, and my parents were like, take a lot of pictures. And we're driving around the countryside, like out my buddy. We went to visit his ranch way out in the whatever, and it's literally like West Texas with kangaroos.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I was like,
100%.
what do you mean taking pictures of? Like,
yeah. You could have actually just taken your camera roll from West Texas back home and just sent the same thing,
It would have been the same thing if it just photoshopped some kangaroos in, and it would have been exactly the same thing.
That's it.
Well, I think we got some people in here. We got, let's see if we can't figure out how to make this work. We got Haley from California.
Oh, awesome.
What's going on? We got Las Vegas and a couple Philadelphia, PA. So
we've got a crowd from Philadelphia that's been inquiring recently. We've got like 2 or 3 companies. It always happens like that with BuildSync. We tend to get in with one general contractor, and then we get like a sub contacting us, and then we maybe get another sub contacting us, or even vendors sometimes. So yeah, we've getting some interest from PA.
One from Florida. So let's roll. So we'll do the ground rules here. I'll just kind of lay out what we're going to go through. We're going to do another live demo of BuildSync. We did one 4 or 5 months ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And BuildSync is evolved. They've added some new features, some submittal markups, which I'm kind of excited to see that. And then we're going to talk about the Procore integration and how seamlessly it plugs into Procore. And so as we're going through, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll try to address as many as we can during the live stream. But you'll see Luke. Luke is Tom's co-founder, and he's in the comment section, and he's going to be playing whack-a-mole and trying to address all the comments. So even the ones we can't quite get to on the stream here. So if you got any comments as we go, let them rip, and then we'll address it as we go.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on that, any questions that get super technical, we want to answer them because we know that, particularly when it comes to submittal reviews, the devil is in the details. So ask away, and Luke will jump on them, as we go through things.
So you want to get the demo started? You want to share your screen? And
let's
start going through it.
Yeah, let's do it. Excellent.
So for people, I guess, before you really, as you're getting it up, I think I try to do a good job of describing what BuildSync is all about, while we're through all the promotionals and all that sort of stuff. But high level, you just want to kind of give an overview of like what BuildSync does.
Yeah, well, 100%. I think it's very important. What BuildSync is designed to do is BuildSync is designed to automate your submittal review process. Yeah. And so what does that actually mean in practicality? Well, essentially what we're doing when we're uploading submittals into BuildSync is that three main things are happening. The first thing the BuildSync is doing is going into the submittal and it's breaking it down by a product level. So whether it's like div 23, and let's say you've just got one, it's a complex piece of equipment, but it's one product, BuildSync will break that down. But let's say it's div 26, and we see this all the time where we're having like 50, 100 different products on that particular submittal. BuildSync again is just going to break each one of those down individually. So that's kind of the first thing that the product does. The second thing then is breaking down those products by their technical characteristics. And of course, we're going to cover that in the demonstration, but that is really where BuildSync shines, its ability to really get into the granular details of these particular products. And then the third thing that BuildSync is doing is comparing those technical characteristics against the plans and specs and making determinations. Do they pass? Meaning we're all good, meets plans and specs. Are they unknown? A little bit ambiguous. Or alternatively, do they fail and not meet plans and specifications? So that is the high level of what we do. We always talk about automating submittal review process. And look, our own marketing says this, but I try to be as transparent as I possibly can be in any of these conversations. The reality is what BuildSync does is it takes out about 80% of the legwork. That's a very common comment by our customers, is that submittal reviews take a long time. BuildSync cuts that time down by about 80%.
To do a good submittal compliance review, it's been a while since I've done them. Now that I've been on the owner's rep side for a few years, but that process sucks. It is painful going through page by page of the spec and page by page of this product data and comparing. And I'm a big proponent of AI where it makes sense, and taking out that level of just painful line by line manual reading is a huge it's a huge advantage, for using AI.
Yeah, I will, I'm going to, of course, get into the demo, but it's a good point. And Luke will have a sort of a sly chuckle when he hears me saying this. So I met Luke, my co-founder, about 4 years ago, and I come from the AI world, but in a very different context. My first company was AI for CPAs, essentially. And so Luke was explaining to me the process of submittal reviews because he ran work for 15 years before we did BuildSync. And I said, right, I'm going to try and do a submittal review. I need to understand this pain. And I think he gave me like a utility sync, which, let's be honest, like utility sync as submittal reviews, pretty simple, pretty basic stuff. And even that made my eyes bleed a little bit. So for those of you that are sitting in a job site trailer, and I've been in them, those of you sitting in a job site trailer or in the office reviewing VRFs and stuff, I tip my cap to you, because it's not fun.
What's kind of a joke I've made where like you get these, project engineers, interns, younger project managers coming out of college, and like they're going to be ChatGPT first, right? Like they're going to be using that all through college. And then you basically sit them in a job trailer and say, all right, manually go line by line of all this product data and all these, this 1,000-page spec book, and do this the old-fashioned way. Like we're not going to get anybody to stay within the industry.
Yeah. They're ChatGPT first, and occasionally TikTok second. So it's recipe for disaster in some cases. But anyway, so look, this is BuildSync, and as Matt said, we're going to run through BuildSync as a standalone functionality. We're also certainly going to cover the Procore integration, because for 80% of our GCs, they're running this through Procore, and a considerable amount of our subs are running BuildSync through Procore as well. But if we look at BuildSync as just the standalone functionality for a second, the starting point to using the software is really quite simple. So, we've got our plans and specs. Our submittals are starting to trickle through. We're just going to come to BuildSync.ai. We're going to log in. That's going to take us directly through to our project screen. Setting up a project is super simple. You just hit add project, and there you go, and pop in the details. Now, The first actual step that you need to engage with BuildSync is when we're uploading our plans and specs. So as we can see here, it's taken us directly through to our plans and specs screen. And what we're going to do now is just upload our plans and specs into BuildSync. So no great prizes for guessing how you do that. You're just hitting upload here. So we're going to choose our file. We are going to choose one of our files, maybe select our master specs initially, hit this button here, upload, and then we're going to do the same thing for our drawings as well, and hit upload here. What that does is that allows BuildSync to ingest our plans and specs. So that's kind of a fancy way of me saying essentially reading them. So as you can imagine, though, in many cases when we're looking at spec books, you could have very easily 1,500 pages, and you could have a ton of pages of drawing as well. So this process to actually read the plans and specs, you're looking anywhere from, say, seven minutes usually, maybe like top end kind of 10 minutes. And once that's loaded, what we're going to see is we're going to look like this, and then we can pop over to our Submittal Review tab. Now, again, our Submittal Review tab is, again, fairly simple, fairly straightforward. This is just where you upload your submittals into BuildSync. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to come to this button here, Upload Submittal, drag and drop our files. You can choose the division. We could say, for example, these submittals were Div 23. You don't need to do that. I would say probably 10% of our customers do, 90% don't. And that kind of makes sense because sometimes submittals can be multi-divisional. If you don't select it, you just leave it as other. BuildSync will make its own determination as to what division it's going to be associated with. So don't worry too much is what I'm getting at. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at one of these submittals. So I always like to do a mechanical submittal because they tend to be quite complex. And we're going to move on to some electrical stuff in a minute. So let's start with these DOAS units here. Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click View Products. And if you remember at the beginning, that's what I was referring to. So the first thing BuildSync does is it goes into the submittal and it breaks down all of the products that are contained inside that submittal. So again, to reiterate, does not matter how many products you have on a submittal. I think the top end we've seen was 106. That was some lighting fixtures that we processed recently. We actually got a submittal on a POC recently that was 2,661 pages. So I can't even remember how many products were there. More like a submittal package, probably, than a submittal. But anyway, the first thing it does, of course, is break down the products. The second thing that BuildSync does, as I mentioned, is it breaks down the technical characteristics. And this, of course I'm biased, but this is where BuildSync really shines. Our capabilities to be very granular in breaking down the products. So super simple layout, left-hand side here, submittal characteristic. That is what the submittal said. Design characteristic, that's what our plans and specs are calling for. And then, as I said, the third and final step that we're going through is BuildSync is making its determination. Does this fail, meaning it's no good? Is this unknown, so potentially ambiguous? And this is actually quite important. The unknowns can uncover some real gems of information. So I want to cover these. And then the final thing, of course, does it pass, meaning it's all good, meets plans and specifications. Now, I want to cover two characteristics on here. Because what I want to do is I want to demonstrate to you all, okay, but how do I check BuildSync's homework? Like, how do I, if I want to check out this refrigerant, for example, how do I check? I can see the text here, so I can see the submittal is carrying R-454B. Plans and specs are calling for 410A, so that's a fail. But let's say I want to check BuildSync's homework. How do I go about doing that? Well, the answer to that is relatively simple. You literally just click See Files. So what we're going to see here is, if I just zoom in so we can see, left-hand side, what it's going to show us is it's going to show us the original copy of the submittal. So we can see we're through to the page that this characteristic was pulled from, and we can see top right-hand corner here, refrigerant R-454B. The right-hand side, what it's going to show us here is the plans or the specs. It obviously depends where it's been compared against. In this case, it's just brought us to the dedicated outside air unit schedule, and we can zoom in here and we can see refrigerant type 410A. So what I'm getting at is that anything within BuildSync, and you want to come in and figuratively check its homework, you can do so just by hitting See Files. A few other things that I want to cover. I do want to jump onto some other electrical stuff because I think the crowd will find that interesting. But I want to cover unknowns and the kind of concept behind them. Mm-hmm. So unknowns basically mean it's BuildSync's way of holding its hands up and saying, hey, there's something you need to dive into here. There's some context that's missing from this. So a common example, this is a pretty common example, like stuff like warranties. So if we look here, BuildSync has marked this characteristic as unknown. Yeah. So we have on the left-hand side, we've got warranty, we've got two-year unit warranty, and we've got 5-year compressor warranty. However, plans and specs are saying the air handling units, the warranty needs to be 2 years from date of substantial completion, and the warranty period for compressors needs to be 5 years from date of substantial completion. Now, what BuildSync is telling us is it's saying, hang on a second, guys, this looks pretty good. However, note that the warranty does not specify when it begins and needs to begin at the date of substantial completion. So that's a really good question for your sub to be able to phone them and say, hey, what's going on here? What's the situation? When did the warranty begin? Is it beginning at the date of substantial completion?
That note you just highlighted, BuildSync put that in there to show you, basically raise its hand and draw your attention that it doesn't really give you a start date.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And I tell you what, guys, this is, whenever we're going through implementations, I have to stress to people, and even when we're doing POCs and stuff, they'll see unknowns and they'll be like, oh, well, the software doesn't get that. That's not the case. Check into the notes of everyone. And what you'll see is that basically we've informed the model to give what's called contextual understanding, which basically it's like show your workings is the easiest way to think about it. So you'll see on all of these unknowns, you will see a justification and a reason as to why it's made that determination. So can we see here that we've got
I love that. It helps explain the why.
Yeah. And again, it just makes it simpler because it means you can phone your sub and you can get to the source of truth quicker. Again, that whole concept of our customers still do submittal reviews. It's just 80% of the legwork is reduced.
Yep.
Now, let's jump into another example because I think.
But even on that, I was just thinking when you pull that up, though, as I've kind of joined BuildSync as an advisor and kind of made some posts and talked to some people about it, one of the kind of pushbacks is like you hear from a COO at a contractor or something. And say, well, no, that's how our project engineers learn the product. That's how they learn the project is through the submittal reviews. But even this right here is still helping you do that. But it's even taken a step further where you could just see 2 years, 5 years warranty. But it's saying, hey, but yes, but when does the warranty start? And it's helping you think through some of those things. So it's actually going to help train you a little bit better than just, mindlessly reading 2 year, 5 year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to be honest, let's be very frank with a lot of these submittal reviews. It's mindlessly control Fing, and it's just word lookup. What we do find, particularly with new project engineers that are coming into the industry, BuildSync not only helps them cut down the amount of time they're spending on these reviews, allowing them to be more proficient and frankly, allowing them to do stuff that they enjoy far more. But to your point, it also is helping inform them and getting them to understand the reasons as to why something can be rejected. But I've got some cracking examples for that, because you're right, Matt. That was last time I know we got commentary around that, and I would say probably it has kind of, the trend has kind of changed in the last 12 months. 12 months ago, AI was, I don't want to say it was like a scary word, but it was I don't think in construction tech a lot of people knew what to think of it. That has definitely changed. The tide is, especially in the last 6 months through our experience, the concept of using artificial intelligence for very practical and pointed reasons is way different.
I mean, 12 months ago, I uploaded plans and specs into a ChatGPT and started asking it questions, and it completely missed the mark. And so 12 months ago, I think that's the point of having, a special product like this. This is very refined in submittal review, because it knows what it's looking for. You've trained that model specifically for this thing. Because even ChatGPT, something as open-ended as that, it still misses the marks, on stuff like that. But
any model is as only good as its training. That's just the reality. But let's jump into lighting fixtures. And the reason I wanted to cover this one is because I would say 40% of people that try out BuildSync upload some type of lighting fixture submittal. It's, well, the GCs anyway, because it's just, there's a lot going on here, There's a lot going on here. So I don't even know how many this one has. Let me see here. So that's got, we have got, okay, 14. It's got 14 different products in. So even this guy's 14. Yeah, I mean, and imagine the ones. And one of our customers said he was going to join. So if you are joining, you know who you are. My good friend in Houston. Yeah, he uploaded an 800-page submittal that was, as I said, 100 products. How he planned to do that manually before BuildSync, I have more power to him. Like more power to him. But let's jump into this, because this is, let's get into the niche technical details, because I know all of you construction nerds out there are like wondering about the real niche details of what BuildSync is going to get into. So, right.
And just a reminder to everybody that's on, maybe some people join late, leave comments, ask questions. We're going to address as many as we can here on the stream. And then Luke, Tom's co-founder, is in the comment section as well to address any questions, technical questions we can't get to. Just a quick
please
reminder.
do, guys. Yeah, please do. And super technical ones, we're absolutely happy to answer. No problem at all. Very, very much an open book. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this. So we're looking at this particular fixture here. So we've got the SK4 fixture. So I think this one's quite an interesting example of something that BuildSync caught. So if we have a look here, we can see, if we have a look at the text, we're going to see the whole text. Yeah. So submittal value, we can see here the submittal value. We've got description, LED narrow strip, 444 white powder coating, WireGuard. Now, there's an interesting note that has been added here. It says, note that the FP frosted polycarbonate lens for 75R is not selected. And then comparing that against the what the plans and specs are calling for. So let's actually have a look at that, because this kind of stuff happens all of the time. So again, going back to our trust but verify system, seeing the original copy of the submittal alongside the original copy of the drawings or specs, whatever context it was. So we can actually see here that these ones in blue, of course, these are ones that have been selected, but it says the Luminous schedule states that frosted lens for SK4. And what BuildSync is just doing in this instance is it's saying that this hasn't been selected. So for this particular product, this is an option, but it hasn't been selected. And of course, it is referencing us to check the Luminous schedule. For those of you that have used BuildSync before, or for those of you that you want to check it out after this, what you notice when you're looking at the side-by-side comparison is that BuildSync always tries to geolocate to the general area of the drawings where the characteristic has been pulled from. So we can see here we're in the Luminaire schedule, and then we can zoom down to SK4. And then again, we can just do that side-by-side comparison directly to check it out, basically. Excellent. And there's actually a few others I want to cover on here, because it's just so common, you know, these lighting fixtures for people to try on a proof of concept. So there's a few other ones I want to cover, which
Craig Lair says, gotta love lighting fixture submittals.
I had two people this week send me a message on LinkedIn saying, hey, I've got a lighting fixture submittal. Can you run it through BuildSync? When I have said to everyone, whenever that becomes an issue, you just send me a message on LinkedIn. I can get you. Takes a little bit of time for me to get an instance of BuildSync stood up on our trial server for you. But whenever you have a horror show lighting submittal, please do not cry through it. Yeah, just send me a message on LinkedIn, and and we'll provide the antidote for you, particularly around holiday season. The idea of someone having to work on a submittal through a holiday or a holiday weekend, I feel like I'm doing God's work when I prevent that from happening. So
Matt Brennan says, I'd love to see how door hardware is handled, which is funny because when you first gave me a trial of it to test it, I uploaded lighting, I uploaded door hardware, and I uploaded a VAV package with like a whole bunch of different sizes of VAVs to see how it would break all those out. And that's what blew me away, because just give it the hardest ones. And I thought I would break it, and it handles it. I don't know if you've got a door hardware to go through today, but it handled it quite well.
Yeah, I might do. Who asked the question?
Matt Brennan.
Matt, if you've seen, so there is another video that Matt and I did probably 6 months ago. From memory, we covered door hardware on that. So if you want to, and that was live again, like one of these demonstrations. So be sure to check that out if you want to see it. However, if you just want to do it, as I said, just send me a message and we can set it up, and you can upload some door hardware. No problem whatsoever. But let's check this one out. So let's check this fixture out. So it's MD-4HE Williams. Because again, I like showing when it gets really into the nitty-gritty of stuff. So again, let's just check out the text. So, okay, so what do we have here? So we have plans and specs. We have lamp LED, min lumens, 10,100. And then some color details, voltage, etc. Okay, so BuildSync has registered this as a fail. And again, always giving that contextual understanding, we can have a look pretty clearly that the min lumens doesn't meet 7,800 versus 10,100, but also there has been a comment that's generated. So this is directly from the model. It's giving reasoning to why it's make the determination. And we can see here that note that the submittal states the driver is non-dimmable, but the schedule requests it. Additionally, the schedule calls for 10,100 min lumens. Confirm with design team if this product is acceptable. So again, Matt, this I think highlighting this kind of, and this has been a big update to the model in the last 6 months since we last spoke. But I think this really helps those that are kind of, maybe they're in like VP ops positions, director of ops, operations managers, and they're like, to your point, and it is a reasonable concern, if I give this to my guys, they're just going to stop learning. I mean, I argue the other. I think that this actually helps them learn because it's giving them that contextual understanding of what to look for. And again, going back to it, trust but verify. If we want to see the files, we can see here, left-hand side, is the submittal, and we have here luminous schedule on 1E-002 states min lumens 10,100 for MD4. And when my internet out here in the desert decides to load up, we are going to be able to see the comparative on the luminous schedule of the drawings as well.
we got a thunderstorm rolling through, so my internet's blinking as well.
Yeah. Welcome to monsoon season in Arizona. Yeah, it's fun. So look, we can pop into here MD4 and we can see all of the information here. Now, there's one more that I want to show you about the lighting fixtures. There's one more there. I do want to talk about panel boards because that's another one that we kind of get a bone of contention about. Rather, I noticed that the GC customers that we're dealing with, subs, etc., they tend to struggle with. So let's talk about panel boards in a moment, but just do one more on this lighting fixtures. So let's, I think if we got more here, where is it? Oh, this one here, BD8. Okay, so let's review the characteristic here. So this is actually a good, fixture. We've got the vast majority of passing. There's only one fail. Now, I can't quite remember why this failed, but I know I wanted to look at it. So let's have a look here. So, oh yeah, this was kind of simple. Yeah. So we have here submittal value. We have min lumens 3,300. Happy days. We are passing on the min lumens. But what is the issue? Well, the issue is the color. So we have color 3,503, 3,000 on the submittal. Now, again, this happens all the time. It's a slight oversight. We can see that the note that's been generated giving us the reason for the rejection. The schedule's calling for 3,500. But if we look at the files, what we're going to see is this is actually an option. It just hasn't been selected. So it's a quick fix, yeah? And it's much better to catch this now than to send it through to our design team, inevitably get it kicked back because of this tiny little issue that could have been rectified, and then go through the whole merry-go-round again, where we're sending it back to subs and the subs getting it back to us, and all of that kind of nonsense. So
that kind of plays on a question that's here in the comments. Dennis asks, could you please demonstrate how it would work on a GC side of things? Kind of for that review. So, I mean, you can review it obviously on the subcontractor side when the product data comes in from your vendors and you're reviewing it for compliance. But then once it gets pushed to the GC, when the GC should be reviewing it for compliance, you kind of talk through that. And this it may actually be teasing up kind of how Procore works in a minute.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. But to answer the question directly, Dennis, I believe I heard your name was. To answer the question directly, so we have subs that use this because they're checking what they're getting from their vendors and they're running it through BuildSync and then sending it through to GCs if it's good, or kicking it back to their vendors if there's stuff they need to rectify. And to be honest, to Matt's point, if we are using BuildSync as a standalone system, the workflow does kind of look the same. So you would take all of your subcontractor submittals and just upload them all into BuildSync. BuildSync will process them through, and then we'll be able to come in and do our deep dive on each individual submittal. Now, here is where, and I will nerd out super quickly on this because I just think the integration is just brilliant. The difference that we see is 80% of our GC customers are running this through Procore. So I don't want to keep you waiting too long. I'm going to cover the Procore integration in about 5, maybe 10 minutes. And I think if you are a Procore customer, I think you'll be very interested in how that functionality works because it is quite slick.
Got a couple more questions here while we,
Of course.
Craig asked another question because we haven't missed it, but does this work with small projects that only have the specs in the drawings as notes and not a full spec book?
100%. Yeah, specs and drawings super common. Doesn't matter. Any text-based information on the drawings will be picked up by the model. We see that stuff happening all the time. We got our start on some small projects about 2.5 years ago, so they hold a special place in my heart at least. So
here's a kind of a different interesting question. It says, can you use it to QC just the specs and drawings before it goes off to the contractor, catching mistakes during the design phase rather than the submittal process?
Ooh, there we go. Now we're talking. Who asked that question?
Caitlin Rosier.
Caitlin, very interesting. Okay, so we do have another tool. It's called our drawing comparison tool. It is built kind of for that reason. I'll be honest, I just won't have time to demonstrate it today. It's a whole other product that we've built. If you're interested in seeing it and you don't even have time for a demo, just hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll just send you a 5-minute video demonstration that will explain how that functionality works. But to answer your question, yes, we do. We do have something that deals with that. And maybe, what about this, Matt? We do another one of these, maybe in a couple of months' time. Because we've been talking about showing the drawing revisions tool, because that's got some updates as well, some really cool updates. Maybe we should try and do something in the new year or something.
We teased up at the end of the last episode, showing that one, and then we never did. So I think it'd be good.
Do you know what happened? I wanted to show it because we built it, and well, shall I say, Luke and our engineering team built it. I won't take any credit. But since the last one we did in March, on the submittal side of things, our submittal review tool, we've tripled in revenue just for that particular tool. So it's been all hands on deck, you know, with our submittal review tool. So that's partly why. But look,
I got
guys,
one more question for you here.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Right quick. Ben says, is the data uploaded private, or is it used by BuildSync to train their own or other LLMs?
All data that is uploaded is solely restricted to your instance of BuildSync. So if there's any data that's been uploaded, so BuildSync, we've built the base model, and any data that you have uploaded will only go into informing your instance of BuildSync, not the general model. And that's the right way to do it.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you keep rolling.
Yeah, let me just explain a few things here, because this is really cool. So when we've gone through these, guys, you've seen that BuildSync has highlighted this square red box. So this is a new feature that we released, yeah, and this was some friends in Denver, large mechanical subcontractor. They asked us to build this feature, and it just makes so much sense, so we did. So these squares here, these marked up submittals, yeah, and we notice them. So if we go back into like, let's go back into this one just for a second. Yes, have a look at here. I'll just see the files again. So again, this marked up submittal. We can actually download this now, yeah? So we hit that button there, download. And what that will do is that will download this submittal as a PDF. But what you're going to notice is the submittal will be marked up with all of the failures that it found. So I'm going to go into output in a second, because that is important to demonstrate to you. But just to know, when you do download an output, you can download the original copy of the submittal, but it's just marked up with the failures that BuildSync found. So really nice functionality, because again, I'm sure I don't need to explain, but kicking it back to a sub, you're giving them their submittal, but it's just marked up exactly what's not correct with the submittal. Same thing with the vendor, kicking it back to them, and they're going to be able to address exactly what it is that is wrong about the submittal.
So just to be super clear, that red comment there, BuildSync put that red comment on there.
Yes.
Marked it up. They marked up the failure for you.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. We released this, pretty shortly after we last spoke, and people have just gone mad for it. And I get it. It's sometimes in the chaos of construction, what I notice is that people don't read stuff. They just got so much coming at them. And this is just really distills.
The spreadsheet output that it gives is great, but everyone looks at those spreadsheets, and you almost need a picture, right? Mark it up on the actual document, show me where it fails, and it takes that whole, because what would end up happening is you give it to the project engineer, interns, they put these comments, mark it back up on the PDF, and send it back to the sub, and like you're still having to do all that manual work.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so we've got 2 things left to show everyone, and I do want to. One of those, of course, the big one is Procore. So I want to talk about that. So we'll touch on this quite quickly, because I got far too excited talking about DOAS units and lighting fixtures. So we'll do some panel boards very briefly. Okay, so again, very common one we see on proof of concepts or trials. Panel board has been uploaded. What we've noticed here is that there are on this particular submittal, let's see here, there are 46 panel boards that have been uploaded. So what BuildSync has done, and it is just nicer from a layout, particularly at the Excel level, is that we have listed each characteristic as an individual panel board. So we can see, of course, submittal characteristic, design characteristic. These are the panel boards that fail, meaning no good, doesn't meet specs. These 4 here are somewhat ambiguous for a reason, and remember, there will always be a reason given as to why it's ambiguous. And then these ones at the bottom here pass. Now, and again, you know, we can always come in and we can identify. So BuildSync has generated the note that the bus rating on the drawing is 400A. Where is it? Oh, here we go. We can see here it's 600. So again, this will be marked up on the submittal as well if we check out the submittal. There we go. So that markup's been added. So we could just download this and we could kick this back to our, you know, for GC, kick it back to a sub and say, hey, this is what I need you to fix. Let's talk about, for a couple of minutes, let's talk about the Excel output, because key part to BuildSync. Yeah. So to get an Excel output from the app, we're just going to hit download overview. And what that is going to do is download the overview. so what we've got here is, this is an Excel that BuildSync has produced. So, and again, guys, when you're looking at this stuff, don't, you know, we quite commonly, we're white labeling this for our customers. So they're having, you know, their own logo put in so you can look like it's coming from you. But essentially what this does is it just recreates the data from BuildSync in Excel. So we have said there are 14 products in the submittal. There are 5 failing characteristics. There are 8 unknowns and then 71 passing characteristics. And so if we go through here, these tabs here, what these represent is these represent all of the products that made up the submittal. So this is nice because you can just send this back to your sub and you can kick it over to them and you can say, you know, Mr. Electrical Sub, I can't send this through to my design team yet. Reason being is that on the submittal page 141, we can see that this is the characteristic that was selected. Well, the frosted polycarbonate lens has not been selected. It was an option, but wasn't selected. And on design page 140 of the drawings, we can see that this is the design characteristic that it's calling for. So please address this. Let's get ahead of this problem before we send it through to design team so we can make sure we're getting our submittals approved on time. And so that's really what I always try to stress. You know, I say we automate submittal reviews because it sounds really good for marketing. But if I'm, you still have to do the review. It just surfaces the information in a much cleaner way than a furious Control F session. Looking this, looking this stuff up. So, and remember, guys, this, when we hit download, this is associate. The other part of this is, of course, you're going to get the submittal generator as well with those markups. So send these both back to the sub. I'll be honest, they usually just look at the marked up submittal, but at least they're still going to get to the source of truth and they can resolve those issues.
I love that though, because it's you're keeping the human in the loop the whole time, right? You're breaking down the information in a way that's kind of spoon feeding yourself to some degree, right? Where it's breaking down the information where you can really understand it. And you're not just staring at stacks and stacks of virtual pages to go read.
I mean, here's the thing, guys, you know, with artificial intelligence in general, my first company was an AI company. I like to say I was in AI before it was cool. Been doing this now for, I mean, almost 15 years. Human in the loop AI is the future. It's the whole idea that AI is going to take our jobs. I just think it's BS. Someone using AI efficiently, that's a lot more dangerous. So
yeah.
But let's go on to Procore, because I love Procore. They send us through a ton of business through their app store. We get a ton of inquiries every single week. So I am firmly putting on my Procore hat for this conversation. So just a little bit of kind of housekeeping, if you will, in terms of how the integration gets set up and how it works. And this will be very quick. If you go onto Google now and you type in BuildSync Procore, you'll find our Procore marketplace page. There's a little button there that says install. If you want to get started, you can just do that. You can install Procore. We'll get a notification. We can come through, set up an account. How the integration actually works is BuildSync essentially becomes an actor inside of the Procore workflow. So this is a common workflow that we see. Sometimes there's some amendments to it, but this is pretty commonly. So let's say John James, that's your sub. So BuildSync Submittals sits in between your sub, and then Emilio Patrick, my son's middle names, general contractors, that sits at the end. So essentially the process that's happening is Submittals going through to BuildSync. Everything that we showed you happens in the background. So BuildSync grabs the plans and specs, so it can go into Procore, pull plans and specs, pull if there's more recent copies, particularly of plans, it'll pull those as well. BuildSync will review the submittal against the plans and specs, break down the products, break down the characteristics, tell you, do they fail, do they pass, how are they looking? And then the submittal, or the ball in court rather, gets kicked through to the general contractor. So and then you're left solely to just make the determination, okay, what are we going to do with this? Am I going to kick it back to my sub, or am I going to send it through to my GC? As I mentioned, we do see some of our subs who use the submittal review workflow inside Procore, and so it's a little bit different, but the principle is still the same. They upload, BuildSync hits the submittal, and it gets kicked over to whoever it is that's going to be making the final determination. Now, what this looks like in Procore is, let me just show you an example submittal. So here's the world that we need to imagine when we're thinking about Procore. I can't imagine what it's like for PMs and PEs in the heat of a project when they're running around, let's be honest, construction can be chaos sometimes. They're running around, they've got 10 things at once, and they're starting to get trickle through of their submittals from their subs. And the last thing they need to do is spend 2 or 3 days, going through these reviews. So the world that we've got to imagine that can exist now is, instead of getting through that blank submittal, if you will, and then comparing against plans and specs, what BuildSync is going to enable us to do is that the submittal is going to be reviewed. It's always going to be reviewed before the due date of the submittal, and we're going to get the first thing, a marked up copy of the submittal that's just detailing where the failures were found. So again, this is a pretty easy example here. So BuildSync's just produced this marked up copy of the submittal. So again, if we want to kick this back, pretty simple to do so. And then, of course, what we've got here is we have got the compliance report from BuildSync as well. So what we've generated here is just the compliance report, detailing how many products, how many failures, how many unknowns, how many passing, and of course, all of the respective pages as products are going to be represented here as well. So the Procore integration, to demonstrate it, that's it. It's pretty simple. I kind of describe it as set and forget.
It's almost so simple, it's kind of boring to demonstrate.
It is, yeah, I know. I always say that. I need like a firework emoji to come off or something. I don't know.
So this document, it gets uploaded back into, this submittal review sheet gets uploaded back in there, just like anybody would upload anything, like your GC would upload a document, like your architect would upload a document.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And I think, as I said, what people realize quite quickly, and in some ways, I'm very thankful about this, because building the product of BuildSync for the 2 years before we launched commercially, super arduous process, very, very difficult thing to build from a technological perspective. But what we realize now is that I think a lot of construction tech, the time to value can be quite long, meaning you might need to go through 3 or 4 months of really trying to get it bedded down in the company, which is not easy. It's difficult. Change is difficult. And the good thing about BuildSync that I'm really thankful for is, despite it being a very difficult thing to build, the value that people realize, to be honest, is quite instant. Because when, what I call it, Matt, I call it the puppy dog sale. Yeah. Right. Take the puppy dog home, play with it, let the family play with it, let your kids play with it, and then you tell me whether you want to bring it back. And that's exactly what I do with BuildSync. I say, take it home, upload a VRF system, upload some lighting fixtures, some Div 8, the doored hardware stuff. That's always a nightmare. Upload a couple of them, and then tell me if you want to go back to manually reviewing submittals. And I'm not being. That is how we sell this product. It is because once people don't have to do it, they don't really say, you know what, I really fancy, I really fancy some nice, lighting fixtures. That'll brighten up my Friday afternoon.
What am I gonna do with my evenings, though? I can't pour myself submittals.
That's it. What are you gonna do? Maybe relaxing. Maybe that strange concept the construction people often don't do. Maybe chill out.
With that being said, though, we do have I think I've posted it in the event. I'll make sure to repost it again, though. Tom said you can reach out to him directly in a DM and set up a time to talk through it all, or I've got a Calendly link for Tom, for the Construction Yeti Calendly link, which you can get you a puppy dog trial. And also, if you do end up want to go through and not return the puppy dog and go ahead and buy a license, 20% off. So.
Not return the puppy dog. Do you know what? I think I've just come up with some. That's our new marketing. It's our new marketing. So that's it. Awesome. Any other questions from
I got a question for you. As we were going through Procore, we're talking about it pulls the latest plans and specs. Mm-hmm. Does it pull RFIs, or is that on the roadmap to pull RFIs?
Can do in certain situations. Can do in certain situations. We, in terms of, if it's reference on the submittal, then yes, that's possible. We are working on trying to run a comparison against them all. I don't think that's going to be live for a while, because that's a huge amount of context we potentially need to go through. But hey, you know what? Maybe that's the next time we do this. Maybe we sorry, Luke, I know I'm putting you fully on the spot there. Luke and Carl are probably saying, Tom, shut up, please be quiet. But maybe that's something we do next time. But yes, the short answer to that question is, in certain scenarios, yes, if it's reference on the submittal.
I've had submittals rejected because my submittal didn't meet plans and specs, but it met the RFI clarification we had. And so, because the guy reviewing submittal on the engineers team, he didn't know all the RFIs that, how that stuff gets chopped up and distributed. So anyway, those are always fun conversations.
100%. Yeah.
Any other questions here? We've got a few more minutes. We've got a lot of good ones. I think I got Luke was busy there for a while. There was a lot of comments he was addressing. I was trying to pull up the ones that kind of related to most people.
Yeah. Oh no, if Luke will only be too delighted to be answering the super technical questions. Because for 2 years, Luke asked, I probably asked the same question about, because we started with Div 23 because that was Luke's background. And I probably asked the same question about in numerous different ways 100 times. So he's got great patience, you know, built with when we were starting the company. So.
Well, I don't see any other questions or comments here. So any other parting words, Tom, before we?
I've said this. I think I've said this 4 times, and I think I've also written this 4 times on LinkedIn. But today, you know, we tried to give a very transparent understanding of how BuildSync works. But please do not take my word for it, and I mean that. What is very important for me, and I think more broadly for the construction tech industry, is just proof. And the only way that you're going to be able to get a very crystal clear understanding of how you can utilize BuildSync to the best of its ability and how we can drive those submittal acceptance rates up to 90-95% is just to try it on some of your most complex submittals. So guys, if anything here has looked interesting today, please try it yourself and very genuinely just, you know, let me know what you think.
That's how you got me interested. I was ghosting you, and you had a promise I couldn't believe of how, you know, I played enough AI to realize.
You ghosted me at Christmas as well. That was it. It was Christmas, you know.
You get lucky my friends now. Christmas, and I played with it. I was like, all right, I guess this is legit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I should have filmed your reaction when you realized it was legit. That's quite cool when people do that. When I see the light bulb click and they're like, okay, this is a thing. It makes it worth it. It really does.
Well, I alluded to it where I'd uploaded specs to, you know, a couple of different AI chatbots and those sort of things. And, you know, I was like, oh, I can do that, have it, you know, pull out and build out, you know, a testing log for all the testing requirements or a warranty log for all the warranty requirements across the book. And then I was asking it questions and it was so wrong. I even went, you know, on page 1, it said like project owner is, you know, blank, right? It had the project owner. So I asked it like, who is the project owner? And it completely missed it. And I was just like, this is
I've heard some horror stories.
Yeah.
I've heard some horror stories of PEs playing with stuff and sending stuff through, and look, you know, poor them because they were just embarrassed. Some like ran. I mean, that's the thing with general. It's your model is only good as the data that's gone into informing the model, and the only thing that BuildSync absorbed is construction data. So that's why. But yeah, I've heard some, frankly, kind of embarrassing stories for people that have just made stuff up, you know. So that's it.
Well, cool. I guess we're gonna end that there. I appreciate everybody joining in and hanging out with us for, at least it was my lunch break, but
there we go. Awesome. Thanks very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.